they come, folks, out at turn number 13 onto the long straightaway here at St. Petersburg. They'll line up 2 by 2, and we are at it. Green, green, green. Racing down the straightaway in turn number 1. The season is underway. Let's see what happens when they work their way into the braking zone. A number of drivers deep down the bottom of the race. There's your first wreck right there. That's Parker Thompson that gets drilled in the side, and that was one of the team pelfrey cars that drove right into the side of him. What did I say? A driver just drove straight in. That's TJ Fisher involved, the number 6 of Max Anratty. And it also was one of your perennial championship contenders, Parker Thompson. He gets rolled back around and gets underway. Thompson able to continue. I don't see any damage, aggressive damage on Thompson at this point here. We are going to go full course yellow, but that was a team pelfrey entry. The driver with the white rear wing end plates just drove straight into the side of one of, I believe it might have been Parker Thompson who went around. That was unbelievable. That is what we cannot have happen here.
Well, Fisher and Hanratty, they came up on the end of that. They just checked up at the very, very end. But we saw Parker Thompson get hung out to the outside. They went 5 wide, and we saw a couple of cars, I believe Garth Ricard, Yufeng Luo, one of those things, and it might have been James Monroe that actually came in. We saw him dive from the outside to the inside. Now, it's early yet. We haven't seen a replay, but 4 or 5 cars swung wide, and as they came in, I think they kind of ran through that apex, came in a little too hot. Potentially, that's where the contact with Parker Thompson happened.
I think that was James Monroe that drove right into the side of Parker Thompson. Or whoever, he drove right into the side of someone. He never even made the corner. He just came right down in and drove straight into the side of someone. And we've seen this time and time again. And as I said, it's just tough because, you know, the coaches are trying to tell these guys to be smart.
Well, we see Monroe dropping through the running order, so clearly something wrong with that machine as well.
He took that was a hard straight-on hit for Monroe. He just drilled the side. Whoever he hit, he drilled him hard on the side.
Well, that Monroe car sits on pit lane. Parker Thompson currently still on the circuit, but taken out potentially on the very first turn of this race, was able to get himself back underway. We couldn't tell if there was damage on though, but for the young man James Monroe on the inside of row number 3, he's on pit lane. Here we go.
There's the replay right there. You know what? We're lucky that the number 2 of Parker Thompson didn't go over. James Monroe just came straight down into the braking zone and just drove right into the side of the number 2 of Parker Thompson. That was just what a disappointing start here to this race. It's exactly what we kind of foreshadowed was going to happen. Someone was going to try to come down to that corner, miss the braking zone, and expect to somehow get around the corner when everybody else is coming through.
Well, we could look if we get an opportunity to see that start again. When they fanned out 5 wide, I think the entrance to the turns and the way that each driver then had to hit that apex and get through the turn kind of threw everything off as they swung wide like that. And when you get an opportunity to see that replay again, you'll see that Parker Thompson really kind of got himself hung out.
He didn't get a good start.
No, didn't get a good start at all. So that kind of threw him off from the get-go. And as the 5 tried to file back into 1 to get through turn number 1, that's where the chaos ensued.
If we do get a chance to see it again, you'll see that Parker Thompson, the number 2, did not get a good jump. Remember, he started from the off pole. What may have been a better call for Parker was to maybe try to get a little farther around the outside before making the turn, knowing that people were coming down the inside. Obviously, it was not his fault for the side-to-side contact, but he did try to come back across to see if he couldn't hold things up a little bit there. But again, needless to say, the damage is done. Some drivers having trouble. Of course, he falling to the tail of the field. Monroe falls back there as well. But look at Dakota Dickerson and Austin McCusker. Austin McCusker started 13th. He will move up into 5th. Dickerson started 16th. You move up into the 6th position. Again, that's one of the deals where let it happen in front of you and just try to see if you can't pick your way through. But I'm telling you, we're lucky that Parker Thompson didn't go over. That was reminiscent of Marco Andretti going over a couple of years ago. When somebody gets to the side of you, the car gets kind of jumped up a little bit, and those tires bite, and away you go up and over. We were lucky that he did not go all the way over, instead was able to continue on. And at this point, the car does not look to be overly damaged. So I think, you know what, I hate to say it, but we're probably going to get a good show out of Parker Thompson trying to work his way back to the front here.
Well, Parker currently sitting on pit lane. We've got Fisher, Hanratty, and Parker Thompson sitting on pit lane. Monroe is back out onto the circuit. Running order as we stand right now is Lloyd, Luo, McGinnis, Gavin, McCusker. As Robin said, big move for McCusker and Dickerson. Dickerson now running P6 for Cards. Ortiz, Kane, and McMahon. They are your top 10. Wow, look at that machine.
Yeah, there's obviously the front wing. They're pulling that off with Max Handready, but we got a lot of water coming out there. In those side pods on the side of the car there, you see there's damage on the fiberglass. That's where actually the radiators are housed. So obviously a big punch there, probably punctured the radiator. You can see the water, the coolant flowing all over the pit lane. So they're going to try to pull him back beside the pit wall here to get that cleaned up again. But that'll be it for Max Handready.
Well, whatever happened to Fisher when he shut it down, Handready, I don't think expected that. Just ran up on the rear wing of that machine, and that caused all that damage.
Chain reaction incident, folks. Of course, this happened right at the very front of the pack. James Monroe overcooking it into turn number 1, gets into the side of Parker Thompson, who was trying to cut back in after not getting a good start, maybe a little too shallow on the entry to the corner. See if he couldn't try to save a couple positions. That's the thing about the opening corner. If you even roll out really wide, you may lose one spot, but as long as you're out wide enough, you're going to be able to get back over to turn number 2.
Yes, indeed. And currently, we are reviewing the running order. I would hate to be in race control today because as they fan 5 wide, they're reviewing the start and making sure everybody's in order. As we had said, there were some big movers at the beginning of this race, so it'll be interesting to see how they sort everything out when we go back to green again. Let's watch the replay again as they made their way down into turn number 1. And there you see Parker Thompson already has fallen back to 3rd. And yeah, indeed, when Monroe came in there, everybody's trying to find the apex, and then everything kind of bottles up here. There's where the machine of Fisher starts to slow right in the back, and that's where Handready comes into him. You see he's already stopped right down there. Don't know where he made contact. But
once you saw it there, you could see that Monroe, everybody else is going to the apex. Right. Monroe was nowhere near the apex. He was still going straight through the corner, and so that's unfortunate. That's something we talked about, and there's James Monroe obviously being penalized for it as well. He gets down to 22nd position now, and we'll see. We'll see if he ends up actually getting maybe a penalty from race control. You never know what may happen here because that was a tough call into turn number 1. But as you said, the guy that's actually coming out, the 2 guys that are coming out on top here, Jordan Lloyd with the lead. Yufeng Luo in the 2nd spot. So those 2 drivers looking good there. That was the inside of the front row, first and third, inside of the first 2 rows, first and 3rd starting order. Robert McGinnis started back at 9th. He was able to avoid it. He goes to 3rd. Luke Gavin. Gavin started, I believe, in the 7th position. He ends up in 4th. McCusker 5th. Dakota Dickerson in 6th spot. Garth Ricard's in 7th. Felipe Ortiz in 8th. Jordan Kane 9th. And Clint McMahon. McMahon started well back in the 20th position. He's now P10.
And that's what makes you wonder how that actually all unfolded, and I could see why race control are making sure that this running order is correct before we turn them green. Obviously, it is correct. We're getting the thumbs up that this will be the running order. So some big moves from some cars mired back in the field. And you talked about Dakota Dickerson. He didn't have full throttle yesterday for qualifying, so certainly cost him, but he's right there sitting in 6th. McCusker now P5. So some of these cars able to get themselves moved up. Hopefully we will get to go back to green this next time around. Again, we are checking to make sure that running order is correct, but as it stands right now, it looks to be. So now we get to do it all over again.
Single file, thankfully.
But how do things change? And you think about Parker Thompson really had a poor start, but for Jordan Lloyd now, just to get a good jump and not allow Yufeng Luo to be right behind him, right under that rear wing, so he has an opportunity to pass him in turn 1. Jordan Lloyd really, the whole restart rests in his hands, and what you want to do is get the best jump you can out of that final turn 14 once you see the green and go. Once you get those markers and go, and we'll see how Yufeng Luo does.
Remember their teammates too.
Yes, indeed.
That's one of the key things. They're both with Pabst Racing, and they've got to go back and debrief. So they may just want to try to jump out and go to town. If Luo's got what it takes to challenge him, he may do it a little later on.
Max Handready's race over that radiator done, as we saw.
We figured,
that machine was pretty beat up, and unfortunately he had nowhere to go. Just ran in the rear end of Fisher.
The drivers settling into the positions. As we said, the lineup now as it stands on our timing and scoring. Jordan Lloyd, the Australian, will lead the way here. Yufeng Luo in 2nd. Robert McGinnis 3rd. Luke Gavin in 4th. Austin McCusker 5th. Remainder of the top 10 sees Dakota Dickerson, Garth Ricard, Felipe Ortiz, Jordan Kane, and Clint McMahon.
Well, we're still doing a little bit of cleaning. You know, the one that I'm interested to see and keep an eye on this restart. Dakota Dickerson, who we know had a quick car. He was the scholarship winner, drives that Mazda Soul Red machine. Talented young man, and really good start for him to be able to move up 10 positions in just that start of the race right here.
You know what? He's an ex-karter who moved from the junior ranks to the senior ranks when he was only 14 years of age. Was a tall kid, so he was able to move up to make the weight to be able to run the senior category. And when you run karts like that, you have that razor reaction time because you have to. The karts are so nimble. And you know, Dakota did such a great job coming through. You know, the family doesn't have a lot of money, so they wanted to take him racing, and they did the Skip Barber program. And then they were able to get into a spec Miata, do a little bit of spec Miata racing as well out in Southern California. And he showed really well, learned a lot against some of the veteran drivers in SCCA, was able to garner the respect of the drivers he was racing with. Of course, he attracts the attention of Jeremy Shaw and gets voted into the scholarship, the Team USA scholarship. And everything's just kind of worked away for him. So he got into the Skip Barber program and won the shootout. Again, we talked about Spencer Piggott. He is the model for what you can do with the Mazda scholarships. For Dakota to be at the very bottom of that rung, just getting things rolling, I think he understands how much opportunity is in front of him. And you can't emphasize enough how much Mazda and their role plays in the development of these young drivers. And for a young man like Dakota Dickerson, as you said, family doesn't have a lot of money. For him to have this opportunity and shine, Spencer Piggott, a great example. What Mazda does truly is amazing, and it really is bringing open wheel racing back in the United States and putting it at the forefront again. I agree with that. It's just amazing to have them with us. We always thank our partners here with our program, of course. Cooper Tires, Mazda, always great to have them with us. This event itself, actually the Priority Marine Construction Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Jordan Lloyd, ladies and gentlemen, leading the way as we get set to go back to green this time by. Drivers getting themselves set as they work their way down, I believe, over to turn number 9 now. Well, that's through the kink already. Here we come. So again, now time to go for a single file restart. Ideally, we'll be able to get through turn 1 unscathed. There's about 18 minutes remaining in the session. I don't think we're going to go to laps here. It'll be a time session for sure. Just under 18 minutes remaining. Jordan Lloyd, Yufeng Luo, Robert McGinnis, 1, 2, 3. They'll work their way to turn number 13. Lloyd will have it. We'll go green this time by. Ran into the field, streaming through, and we are green. They fan out again. Michael 3, 4 wide, coming down the front straightaway. That's not going to work. Big contact. That's Garth Ricards that goes around. Man, we have some impatient young drivers in this category here today. Contact of the front straightaway, drivers going left and right, and that is going to be the number 22 of Garth Ricards. I believe they got looped around and into the wall. Still green as they work their way through turn number 3, now making their way down to turn number 4. Garth Ricards is full course yellow, because Garth Ricards' machine is tore up right past the start finish line. Yellow flag out, full course yellow. Jordan Lloyd with a good restart, but we saw in the middle of the field, Rob, the entire field moved 3, 4, then 5 wide. We saw Garth Ricards actually drop down all the way to the wall, and whoever that was clipped him, and really he had nowhere to go as he went 5 wide. Here's the replay, and we see Garth Ricards now dropping down. Actually, he was in the middle. Someone actually took him out. It was one of the Pelfrey cars. So further back, I'm going to say that was probably Jordan Kane. And you know what it was? You could see that Ricards was trying to kind of come across a little bit, and Jordan was kind of up inside him. Jordan should have backed off. Again, you can't tell these kids enough that you're not going to win this race on the opening lap. Just get through the first corner. When a guy's starting to come across, you got to back out of it. You can't be where you are there. You can't stick with it. You can't expect that driver to stop. He's not going to see you. They're coming across. So Kane was about 2 spots behind Ricards when they started. So he made a move. Ricards then cut down, like you said. And as Ricards makes that move, gets turned around, that's an odd place. And I don't think in the 11 years I've been coming down and covering it that I've seen an incident actually by the start-finish line that just, again, a case of this front straightaway being so wide and drivers wanting to make, hey, I can make up some spots right now. If you do get a good jump out of turn 14, you got a guy ahead of you, you fan out. But this is pretty much the product of what happens when you fan out like that. You make contact, and we had lost the machines of
McMahon actually up to P5 now.
So yeah, so the shakedown of this whole deal is absolutely unbelievable.
It is so upside down.
We've got Jordan Lloyd still leading, and folks, we've got 15 minutes to go here. There's a good possibility we may not get restarted here. Hopefully we'll be able to go green again if they're able to get the car Ricard's off and get it cleaned up a little bit. But right now, we've got Jordan Lloyd up front. We've got Yufeng Luo in second. Now we have to wait, of course, for him to shake down. Robert McGinn is still third. Luke Gavin fourth. Clint McMahon, who started all the way back in 20th position, is now on track, is recorded as fifth. This would be an amazing result for Clint. Obviously, we haven't done any racing yet, but just staying out of trouble alone, he's been able to get himself up into the top 5. Victor Franzoni in the 6th spot. Dakota Dickerson now 7th. Austin McCusker 8th. Anthony Martin 9th. And Felipe Ortiz in 10th spot. And we'll see if there's any shakeups here once they decide where they're going to place everybody. But just unbelievable right now, folks, the way things are shaking down here.
You think about it. We've had 2 green flags. 2 green flags. All right. We've had 2 starts in this race, and Clint McMahon has moved from 20th to 5th. And I can't even fathom how that would possibly happen, but good for Clint if he indeed can stay in that position. Again, we're sorting the field out. Hopefully we will be able to get the Garth Ricard's incident cleaned up and get back to green flag racing and get a complete lap in, because it has been very exciting up to this point. If we could just get a lap going, these young drivers put on a heck of a show, but love to see them actually get a full lap in here, and we can see some racing outside of the turn 1 incidents.
Well, let me tell you this. There's going to be a driver's meeting after this race.
There will be.
And there are going to be some hand slaps, because this is not the way we want things to happen here in the Mazda Road to Indy. These kids need to go racing, and they need to stop wrecking each other on the opening laps. So, folks, we're thrilled to be here, of course, as part of this this weekend. And the Mazda Road to Indy is proud to host over 800 guests this weekend, including guests from Cooper Tires, Allied Building Products, High Tide Boat Lifts, the Lucas School of Racing, and the Anderson Interior Contracting, as well as Mazda and Cooper Tire dealers.
Been a lot of fun thus far this 2016 campaign, the sessions that we have watched, and again, between Cooper Tires and obviously everything Mazda does, these young open wheel racing drivers, to have it all under one ladder system to develop the growth of these young drivers. And as we talked about, Spencer Pigot now making his way to the IndyCar Series. He's done it all. USF2000, won a championship in Pro Mazda, won the championship in Indy Lights. To see the development, and fans, one thing you must remember, for those of you here at the circuit, these are names that you will hear 3 years from now, 5 years from now. We remember the start with names like Spencer Pigot, Zach Veach. These were guys coming up through the ranks, and these are the future stars of open wheel racing as they slowly make their way through. Some rise a little bit quicker than others, but this is what it's all about. To be able to come to a circuit and go, I don't know who any of these drivers are. Now you know, because you're able to see them year after year after year.
And the funny thing is, the Spencer Pigots, the Neil Alvaricos, the Scott Hargroves, they were all part of this chaos back in USF2000 as well. They learned through this chaos to try to not have it happen later on in their careers, and they were able to get through that. It's the painful part of learning. There's no doubt about that. Folks, we do want to send a warm welcome out to Ryan Cooper and Renato Hahn, the winners of Pit Suite and Pit Lane passes for this weekend, courtesy of Palmetto's Anderson Race Park, for sending a time closest to the best lap mark set by Verizon IndyCar Series veteran Sebastian Bourdais, who's a regular at the state-of-the-art karting facility. I've been told that Sebastian goes out to the Anderson Race Park usually once a month, gets out there and has a little fun, does a little bit of karting, and there's a guy that likes to go back to his roots, like so many of the guys do, especially in Indianapolis as well. But Sebastian goes out to Anderson Race Park, pounds out some laps in the karts they have there. Just a lot of fun. The
purest form of racing. You'll hear drivers say it time and time again. The purest form of racing, back to the early days of karting.
Yep. It's just you and the engine and the chassis. Yep. It's people that absolutely love it. So you know, Anderson Race Park is a 13-turn, 0.6 of a mile go-kart track. It's just over the Skyway Bridge in Palmetto, Florida. It features arrive and drive high-speed karting. You don't have to have any experience. It's also home to the headquarters of the Mazda Road to Indy as well, as they have a professional go-kart team there, the Anderson Racing Academy, which trains tomorrow's Mazda Road to Indy and IndyCar stars right in southwest Florida. Anderson Race Park can host your next team building and corporate events, as well as bachelor parties, leagues, and more. Karting is where drivers begin, and ages 5 and up are welcome. And you know what? You see a young Sebastian Weldon out there every once in a while as well, too. And we see that. That's the great thing about karting. We get kids 5, 6, 7 years of age, and It's kind of odd sometimes. You see these kids that are 8, 9, 10 with racecraft that you expect out of an IndyCar driver. They're patient. They draft. They wait for the last lap to make the move. It's a wonder that they're able to have that kind of racecraft and that kind of strategy at 8 years of age.
Well, what's even more ironic, I guess, it not maybe ironic is the wrong word, but for you to follow, I know you followed some of these young men and women 5, 6 years of age. You've seen them run it, and now they've grown, they're adults, and you've seen their entire career progress. It's got to be satisfying for you as an announcer being part of this, the whole program, this Mazda Road to Indy, to see families. And this is a family sport. You have a driver, there's a lot of commitment. Families lose a lot of time when they allow their young boy or girl to start in karting. You have to be dedicated and do it constantly. You can't just walk in one weekend and then take a month off. So that puts a lot of pressure on the families, but you see each side of this racing community and how everybody develops and grows over the years. It's truly wonderful, I think.
Well, it is a family sport, and that's one of the things. You go out as a family. You know, it's the mom, the dad, the sister, the brother. Everybody's there. We have teams that have brothers and sisters racing, sisters and sisters racing. Looks like we're going to go 1 to go here. 1 lap to go, 9 minutes remaining in the session. But karting is definitely a family sport, and that's the great thing. And you mentioned me following guys all the way through the ranks. I obviously do a lot of stuff in go-kart racing with my website. But I remember a little shaggy-haired Spencer Piggott. You know, I've known his mom and dad forever, Barry and Shelby. And, you know, we spent a lot of time at the racetrack, the go-kart tracks in Homestead, Florida, and all the way through the ranks. And I have a lot of pride for these young kids because I've watched them go through the trials and tribulations, the ups and downs, you know, the big race wins, but then the losses that they had to take to learn to become who they are. And this whole sport, whether you're talking about Helio Castroneves or Tony Kanaan or whoever it may be, Scott Dixon, they all started karting back in their native countries, and they'll speak fondly of those days when it was just about getting out there and having fun and going racing.
Well, the field makes their way through turn number 4, right by the Bright House Networks speed zone. They roll through that 4, 5, 6, 7 complex, the slowest portion of the course, and a great vantage point for you race fans. If you're down in that area, you can see these cars braking, and it can get a little chaotic down there at certain points in the race, especially if drivers feel they can make a pass in turn number 4. You might see them try to roll 2, and certainly if a car gets turned around in turn number 4, it causes that roadblock there and can get congested as well. Then through Pioneer Park down in the north end of the circuit, turns 8 and 9, the field makes their way down into that long Bayshore Drive to turn number 10. Another passing opportunity, and that's what we talked about yesterday, an opportunity to get inside, but rarely do you see clean passing through turn number 10. There is a runoff area there because of the high speeds. Then they do the switchback 11 and 12 and make their way through 13 and 14. That long final turn, that final horseshoe, making their way into what is the widest front straightaway in open wheel racing, this Albert Woodard Airport runway, as they get set to go back to green flag racing. Jordan Lloyd has led this race from the start. Yufeng Liu, McGinnis, Gavin, and McMahon. They are your top 5, and we're about to go back to green flag racing.
Well, let's see if we can be clean this time down the straightaway. The green flag will fly. This time they'll stay a little bit more in order. I like the way it's looking right now. They'll work their way down here to turn number 1. Trying to get through cleanly here. You're going to see a lot of motion here. Clint McMahon, as we said, up there in the 5th position. He does not have the speed to hold that spot. You know, he's going to be attacked very quickly. Victor Franzoni going to work on McMahon for that position, P5. Everyone's settling in. Parker Thompson's got to get work done here, folks. We're looking at maybe 3 or 4 laps for this race. Out front, Lloyd able to hold off Luo right now. McGinnis coming under pressure from Luke Gavin. Franzoni going to try to work his way by here, so you know you'll see passes down the straightaway. McMahon gets real loose coming out of turn number 4 there. He really kicked the rear end and almost tagged the wall as he's trying to hold off Franzoni. Franzoni to the outside. Here they come 2 by 2. McMahon, he's got the Lions behind him right now. Look at everybody getting aggressive. There goes Anthony Martin to the inside of Dickerson. He goes through for 7th. Everybody getting stepped up behind Clint McMahon right now. Being told Parker Thompson getting a potential penalty for too many men over the wall. Well, a lot of penalties being handed out here right now. Too many to talk about here on the broadcast at this point here, as we only have 5.5 minutes remaining.
Local yellow right now, turn Number 9, not sure of the car, but we did see that congestion there, Bob.
Yeah, no doubt. There's a move there, finally. Franzoni able to go to the inside of McMahon at the end of the straightaway. So Victor Franzoni now goes into P5. With McMahon doing whatever he can to try to hold on to a position here in the top 5. He really got lucky being able to get out of the way of all the incidents and able to work his way forward. That's a veteran driver, though. He's been running SCCA Formula 500 and Formula 600 for probably 15 years or more. So a very cagey and savvy moves to be able to get out of the way here.
Lucas Cole, we understand, running slow on the field. You know, we're talking about the restart real quick. I think Jordan Lloyd, what he did different on that final restart than the one before, he really didn't allow the field to bunch up. I think he kept a better pace, and it strung the field out a little more, which allowed us to get down to turn number 1. This restart before that, he really slowed through 13 and 14, and that packed everybody up.
That was it, and that chain reaction, you know, you give these kids the opportunity to attack, and they're going to do it. If they're on the throttle, you're not going to get off. You're going to move to the inside, and everybody started like kind of tiling over, moving to the inside.
Victor Franzoni starting to look on the rear wing of Luke Gavin. We'll see if he can't make a move down into turn number 1. Closest battle in the field right now with just 4 minutes remaining in this event. Round number 1 for the USF2000 series. It's Lloyd, Luo, McGinnis, Gavin, and Victor Franzoni. That battle for 4th ensues.
Behind the top 5, Martin runs in 6th spot, McMahon in 7th, Dickerson 8th, Ortiz 9th, McCusker 10th, Mackay Stevens up to 11th, Edel Ostoshkin in 12th, Isla Agron up to 13th, Tazio Otis 14th, and Sam Chastain now into the 15th spot. Eric Filgaris leading the way in the national category of drivers. I really have only going half a many laps of these tires. They are dancing right now as they come out of turn number 3 and 4, number 5. Everybody's settling in here now. Anthony Martin actually starting to close up on Victor Franzoni. He was quicker than him last time by. So Martin looking to see if he can't work his way into the top 5. Luo, though, 1.2 seconds behind Jordan Lloyd. You see it there on the big screen. Jordan Lloyd with a pretty nice little advantage here now. There's a shot. That is the number 80 of McGinnis, the Team Pelfrey car. He has got Gavin and Franzoni all over him.
Gavin's right there to make a move. Yeah.
Look for a position overtaking potentially here down into turn number 1. Let's see if he's close enough. He's not. So McGinnis doing a good job getting some forward bite coming up at 13. You've seen those cars get real loose coming through turn number 13. They want the rear end, want to step out and they get back onto the power. New fast lap just laid down there by Anthony Martin in the number 8, a 114.880. So there's one of the drivers on the move. But again,
Gavin tried to make a move, took a look inside there in turn number 4.
This would be a great recovery for Jay Motorsport. Jay Green and his family ran a partial season last year. The driver elected to stop running the season, and they went back and kind of regrouped. They've got a couple of drivers. One here this weekend, Luke Gavin and Cameron Dawson with them for the remainder of the season. And for them to maybe get a top 5 run would be great for Jay Green.
Oh, Victor Franzoni is all over the rear wing of Luke Gavin. We see that battle now into turn number 10. It's basically Gavin, Franzoni, Martin, nose to tail right there as they work their way through the final portion of this circuit.
Well, and here's Franzoni. He's kind of driving for his life, just like we talked about with a couple other drivers. He's trying to see if he can't get a ride for the entire year. He's got enough budget to run a couple of races, we believe. We don't know if he's going to be with arms up for the full season. He would love to see if he can't get himself into the top 3 here, because Gavin's not doing anything with McGinnis right now. Less than 2 minutes remaining. I expect we're probably going to try to go for maybe 2 more laps here. Jordan Lloyd looking for a triumphant recovery. Here we go. There's a move to the inside. That's him going to the outside. Franzoni tried the outside. No. Franzoni tried the outside into turn number 1. And if you get it around there enough when they come back to turn 2, but Franzoni's a veteran. He thought better of it and realized, you know what? I may get this. Oh, there's a move. That's Martin to the inside of turn number 4. Book it. He's through. Anthony Martin goes to P5. Great racing here in USF2000. This is what we were waiting for.
I think Victor Franzoni, after he tried to make a move on the outside, was thrown off, lost a little bit of momentum. So Anthony Martin able to attack into turn number 4, able to make that pass. This is the penultimate lap. We'll get the white flag next time by. But a great pass, and Anthony Martin patient back there, took advantage of Franzoni's mistake as he tried to go around in turn number 1.
This is one of the things we saw with Anthony Martin last year. He was very consistent, didn't really make many mistakes at all. Only one time or 2 times, I think, outside the top 10 or top 5 even. He was so consistent all year long. Does not make the mistakes. Here he is fighting himself back now into the top 5, despite starting deep in the field. Remember, he started back in 6th position, but fell all the way back to, I think, 15th at one point. Was able to move forward in the next yellow flag. White flag flying this time by. 1 to go. Jordan Lloyd, who ran Winterfest last year in the first couple of races, went on to win Australian F4. Took his scholarship money from that championship to come back here to the last of the road to Indy. Very impressive right now, as he leads by 1.7 seconds over Yufeng Liu. It's a Pabst 1-2 right now. Cape Motorsports, you got to go down to 5th position. 5th, 11th, and 18th. Not a standard Cape Motorsports start to a USF 2000 season. Martin looks like he still wants to try to find a way past Gavin, but not much opportunity from here on. You know what? We got to give some props to Robert McGinnis. If he's able to bring it here, what a rookie start for that rookie would be to put it on the podium.
Started 9th in this race and might end up on the podium. We will see as Anthony Martin starts to look at the rear wing of Luke Gavin.
He is all over him, hanging himself under the rear wing. Look at him all over him here right now. Did he try to put it to the inside here?
Oh, if he has the momentum, he can actually get around him. McGinnis, Gavin, and Anthony Martin out of turn 14 to take the checkered flag. Here they come.
Jordan Lloyd, folks, with the victory here in round number 1. Yufeng Liu will get 2nd. 3rd is going to go to Robert McGinnis. 4th, Luke Gavin. 5th is Anthony Martin. 6th is Victor Franzoni. 7th, let's see who brings it home here to 7th position. Watching live diving as he rolls through as Jordan Lloyd with the victory. Dakota Dickerson, actually, no, it's Clint McMahon able to get through there for 7th. What a run for McMahon. Dickerson 8th, Listoshka 9th, and Isla Agron rounding out your top 10. But you have got to give props right now to Jordan Lloyd. What an impressive run for Jordan in number 21. A 1.5 second victory for Lloyd.